here. I always have to say that out loud because if I don't, and I have an editor, so we will get that little part edited out. So here we go. All right. Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You are listening to episode number 111 episodes. I'm Victoria Gallagher, Law of Attraction hypnotist and #1 best-selling author of Practical Law of Attraction, Align Yourself with the Manifesting Conditions and Successfully Attract Your Desires. I'm also the founder of HipTalk.com and HypnoCloud apps, which gives you access to over 500 hypnosis recordings right in the palm of your hand. So be sure to download that app from either the Google Play stores or the iTunes store. So today, I have a very special guest who I'm really excited to interview and find out all his public speaking secrets. Tom Kumars, oh gosh, I should have asked you how to pronounce your name.
Don't worry. Just
Please,
go with the flow.
Say it for me and then I'll redo.
Brenden Kumarasamy.
Kumarasamy. Brenden, okay. All right, here we go. Let's, okay. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Brenden Kumarasamy. Brenden is the founder of MasterTalk, a YouTube channel that he started to help world master. I'm sorry, I'm like, this is all about public speaking, right? Today.
It's good. We're all just harnessing the power of the mind.
Like I'm nervous in front of the master, So
a lot of people say that. I'm just a dude in my basement. Why are you so scared of me? You got like 2 New York Times best-selling all this stuff.
We might keep this. This is kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, we could just go with the flow. I'm not a stickler anyway.
Exactly. So MasterTalk, it's a YouTube channel that he started to help the world master the art of public speaking and communication. And he coaches purpose-driven entrepreneurs on how to master their message and share their ideas with the world. And he can be found at his YouTube channel. And what's your YouTube channel called again?
Got it. MasterTalk in one word.
MasterTalk. His YouTube channel is MasterTalk. And so today, Brenden is going to be sharing some of his insights on how to present in an online world. So welcome to the show, Brenden.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Vic. It's great to be on.
I'm really excited that you're here because, we were just talking before this about YouTube and having your online presence and public speaking and all of the things. And so I would just love to, for selfish reasons, I want to pick your brain. I want to find out what you're doing these days in an online world. I mean, I've been online, for like 20 years myself, but a lot of people, especially today with the plague, the pandemic, the coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, a lot of people are having to, they're not getting out and talking in front of a crowd anymore because we have to stay 6 feet apart and wear our masks and all of that. So kind of takes the fun out of getting out there in public speaking. So we're talking about how to do this in an online world, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to hear your tips and your strategies. So where did you, first of all, just, tell us about yourself. How did you come up with this idea? Where did you get the idea for MasterTalk? I love it.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate the kind words, Victoria. So when I was in university, I used to do these things called case competitions. So think of it like this. It's like professional sports, but for nerds. So instead of getting into the professional soccer team, the professional football team, or baseball, a coach would make you practice 3-5 times a week and make you do drills in the mud and all that jazz. I did the exact same thing, but in presentations. So senior executives of companies, I know this is weird, but it's actually a real thing. Senior executives of companies, instead of spending their evenings with their family and having dinner with them. They would come after work to the university and just grill us on our presentations. So suffice to say, I presented 3 to 5 times a week for 3 years. It was my life, basically. While other guys were eating chicken wings and watching sports games, I was watching the University of Florida do introductions at these competitions and judge their presentations. So anyways, I was obsessed with them. And then after I got my corporate job after university, I kind of asked myself the following question, which was, how do I transition money as a predictor of impact, money as a predictor of success, to the time and expertise, which is more valuable as an asset because you have a much less time than you do money.
Mhm.
And that's when I found the idea for MasterTalk, because a lot of the people I was coaching in university, the new students who would enter the program, kept asking me, how did you learn how to speak? And I never had a good answer for it. I was just good at it and I practiced a lot, but I never really used any resources or books or YouTube videos. But when the 20th person started asking me, I just said, I wonder what's out there. So I spent a day in my basement just watching a bunch of these YouTube videos myself. And I was horrified by how bad the content was. So I just started making videos in my basement, and one thing led to another, and here we are.
That is amazing. That is such an amazing story because, yeah, I mean, there are tools and there are resources. I mean, like you've got the Carnegie. I've never done that, but you've got the Toastmasters, which I've taken part in that before. But, you know, I love that you did this already, you know, during your university, you know, I mean, that's obviously where you really got practice because, you know, you're at a very moldable point in your life. You know, when people my age or even half my age are getting out there and they're doing this for the, you know, for the first time, it can be very nerve-wracking. But, you know, it sounds like, I mean, you just built up your confidence, got it to where you needed to be. And I don't know, what would you say that, I mean, confidence is a big part in being a good speaker?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to kind of add a bit more layer onto confidence, where does that actually come from? Because I know we think about and we talk about, oh, you need to be more confident. What does that actually mean? And no, a glass of water isn't going to do the trick, right? There's no special formula here. But what I will recommend people, I like that you're drinking water. So that's a good, that was a nice play there. But the idea is very simple. Confidence stems from two areas. One is preparation, and two is a belief system. So
Mm,
preparation is simple. If you just present more than anyone else, and even if it's a skill you love that has nothing to do with public speaking, if you just do it more and you know more than anyone else, that automatically gives you a boost of confidence because you're confident in the topic and your subject. The second part that's more interesting and speaks to a lot of the work that you do is, what do you actually believe in? What
yeah.
is your innate belief system as an individual? Even if that seems disconnected to public speaking, it really isn't. Because if you believe in something and you have a point of view on the world, it will show in the way that you speak. Because even if you're afraid to voice your opinion, even if you're afraid to not speak your truth, because you believe in that message so much, you decide to speak it anyways. And I'm a good example of this. Just to be completely transparent here, I started MasterTalk when I was only 22. So at a
Mhm.
very young age, I started the YouTube channel. And I currently coach CEOs of many big companies that people would know, but I'm only 24 years old. So why do they trust me with the transformation? More specifically, why do I have the confidence to coach them myself? Because of those two key areas. I'm confident in my skill. I know that I know a lot about public speaking because I've presented it hundreds of times. I've done it so many times. And the second thing is, I believe that we should live in a world where everyone has access to communication tools. So for free. So despite how scared I was to start the YouTube channel, as you can imagine, because I didn't have the credentials, it's that belief system that guided me and gave me the confidence to say, I'm still going to do it anyways.
That is amazing. And I absolutely believe in that you have to believe in what you're talking about because there are two levels of communication. Well, there's multiple levels of communication, but you know, the 7% of communication is actually what you say, the words that are coming out of your mouth. But the rest of it is all this unconscious stuff that people pick up on. They pick up on your eye cues. They pick up on the vibration that you're giving off. They pick up on the feeling. They pick up on your hand gestures, your body language, all of that. People pick up on these subtleties. And if you don't believe in what you are saying, people won't buy what you have to say. They won't believe in what you have to say. As convincing as you want to make it, they're not going to be convinced, and they won't even necessarily know why. And that's how powerful the unconscious mind is and the unconscious belief system is, because people don't even really know why. I don't, everything that you said makes perfect sense, but I just don't want it. Right? For whatever reason, and it's because, they're probably just not really buying into what the speaker's talking about.
Very true. I completely agree. It's the old adage. No one cares what you know until you show how much you care. And once you have that empathy for your clients, for the people that you serve, and you tell stories or you tell anecdotes, analogies, quotes that show them that you understand them as much as they do, then they open themselves up to say, what does this person have for me? I think I'm more open to their ideas and what they have to send me or help me with.
Yeah. So you also mentioned preparation as one of the things that builds confidence. And I remember when I was getting ready to give my very first presentation for my colleagues. I had given other presentations before, but it's like nerve-wracking the first time you go and you present in front of your colleagues, because you feel like, oh my God, I have to know so much. And all of this stuff that I know, it seems very plain to me. It seems very matter of fact. It seems like everybody knows this, but they don't. Or maybe they haven't heard me say it in the way that my special way of saying it, and they need that reminder. But when I was first practicing for my presentation that I was getting ready to give, I swear to God, the first time that I did a little practice run through in front of my 3 cats on my couch, which they're
a lot of cats.
Yeah, they're not really the most engaged audience. A lot of them were falling asleep. A lot of them
I don't think that's your fault, though.
Taking bath.
Just putting it out there.
But it was the most awkward experience. Like, I was awkward in my own skin, in my own living room, in, saying what I needed to say out loud, practicing it. And so tell us about that. Like, how does a person get over that feeling of awkwardness and uncomfort? How much do you really have to practice? Because like in that moment, I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna cancel this thing. Thank God I didn't. Thank God I just
don't listen to your cats, people.
Right? There we go. Yeah. So what do you suggest as a routine to get yourself better, to practice your craft?
Of course. And there's a couple of things in that question that we can break down. So let's start with something simple. So this is something that you can do 5 minutes a day that will improve your resiliency in jumping into the unknown, whether it's presenting in front of 3 cats or 300 human beings. Right? So this one's called the random word exercise. So I usually like to demo this in a podcast. So why don't you just give me a random word, Victoria?
Manifesting.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting word.
Is that a random
word? So what I need
word?
to do with this word, that's good. So what I need to do with that word is I need to create an introduction out of thin air.
Okay.
So here I go. There's so many different moments in our life that give us joy and that brings us joy. Whether it's that magic trick that brings them magic in the way that they manifest something beautiful, or whether it's when we see our first child being born and we see that being manifested in our world, or whether it's the things that we choose to manifest and bring to life. Manifesting isn't just a way of life, but it's a way of being. It's a way of creating the things we love. and loving the things we manifest. And in today's presentation, I'm going to be talking about the art of manifesting and how you can manifest anything in your life. So you notice how I just created something completely random out of thin air. Obviously, don't compare yourself to me because I've done this 1,000 times, right? Because I just
That
do it.
was amazing. That
I
was, oh
appreciate
my
that.
God, that was
Thank
brilliant.
you.
That
Like
was
I never,
brilliant.
I
I
never had
mean,
claps before on a podcast.
no,
You're like, oh
seriously,
my
it's
god.
like I'm thinking, about having you help write the second the second book. No. No, that was amazing. That's very similar in a way to something that they do in table topics, where I don't know if you've ever heard that in Toastmasters, but
Of
they help
course.
you to practice your extemporaneous speaking. But to be perfectly honest, you don't get picked every time to go up there and do that. Number two,
Exactly.
you're only doing it maybe every 1 or 2 weeks. So that practice that you're talking about, I'm assuming that's something you would want to do like 5 minutes every day.
Exactly. So 5 words for 5 minutes every day on average. And if you really want to get good, you do 20 or 30 words. And in a month, you'll be incredible. So that's
So,
a
and that
small little
helps you
thing.
to master just the art of speaking on your feet. And, because that's just another point. I mean, I could, I'm really I didn't realize how passionate I am about this, because I've been all over the map with my own public speaking. So I got to tell you, it's like when I, um, chose you as somebody that was going to be on my podcast. I'm like, you know what? For selfish reasons, I want
I
to have you on
choose
my.
him.
Yes, I'm choosing you for selfish reasons, but I feel like if I'm that interested in it, then clearly my audience is just like me. So they're going to be eating all of this up. And so this is probably going to become one of my most famous podcasts. I, I guarantee I'm going to be.
It's very kind of you.
So one of my questions is then, how much should a person like script out or write out what it is that they're going, to be talking about? Because I find for myself, being a little bit of a perfectionist, that it's like I get caught up on like, oh, I want to say it that way. Like I want these words to be there. And then
Mhm.
if those words don't come up, then you start to get you flub up. But then I also find, if I'm just outside doing a walk and talk Facebook live video, just because I feel like it, those are like the authentic, genuine Victoria. And I mean, and I drop gold nuggets. And I don't realize that I'm doing it until like later on. I'll watch it back and I was like, "Ooh, that was pretty good. That was pretty good."
Mm-mm.
But it's hard to trust that. It is so hard to trust that, like, all the wisdom, all the books I read, all the things that I've done, that knowledge is there for me when I need it. So speak
Mhm.
to that.
Of course, of course. And I would argue they're diamonds, not gold.
Okay.
Right. So
Diamonds, gold
there you go.
diamonds.
Gold's for
Or
scratch.
not gold, just diamonds, not
Yeah,
gold.
just diamond, just straight up diamonds. It's just whatever comes out of your mouth, diamonds. That's what
Love it. Love it.
So let's spin your question in a different way, where I want to take this. The issue with public speaking is that the way that we practice it is fundamentally wrong. Why is that? So now let's think about a new skill that we learn, whether it's a new instrument, a sport that we want to play, or even a song that we want to sing. In all of those situations, despite how different the skills are, the fundamental basics remain the same. Do small little actions that are simple hundreds of times. So if you think about basketball as an analogy, sure, there's like alley oops and different tricks that you could do at the court that you'll never get right. But if you want to get better at basketball, you want to run faster, you want to know how to move the ball, pass it, and more importantly, get it in the net. Right? If you're singing a new song, you don't want to sing 100 different songs because you're not really learning anything. You want to focus on that one song that you need to just get perfectly, and then that gives you the confidence to say, well, I can sing this one song, so I know how to sing. Then it allows you to do the other 99. But we don't apply that analogy in public speaking. So it's Wednesday, your client or your boss comes up to you and says, well, Victoria, I need you to give me a presentation on Friday. And you're just there like, nobody told me. So you spend the next 2 days figuring out a presentation. You don't talk to your cats. You don't talk to anybody. And then on Friday, you finally get to present it. And then you take the presentation and you throw it in the trash. And then you move on to a new one. Whereas the best speakers in the world only have one or two presentations.
Hmm.
But the caveat is they've presented it hundreds of times. So we need to change the way that we practice public speaking. And that will give us the confidence to master keynotes. So, in that way, you don't necessarily need to script anything, going back to what you were asking initially, but rather be so comfortable with the same content, generally speaking, that after you do it 100 times, like in my case, I've probably done my keynote 300 times now, not 3, not 30, 300. So now when I give a keynote, I always ace it because it's just clockwork. But the other thing I want to add is if you're an influencer, someone who wants to do video, which is very different than presentations,
Hmm.
then I would recommend scripting, not because you need to know things word for word, because you need to structure your thoughts, or else because you don't want to get lost in the video. Because if you do, I can't ask you questions because I'm just seeing a screen of you.
Right. That's a really, really good point. So to make this a little bit more relevant for today, because today people aren't necessarily getting out and doing a live public
Including me.
speaking. Right. So what kind of advice do you have for the world today when it comes to doing public speaking in an online way?
Absolutely. So the first thing I want to start this discussion off is by acknowledging how difficult it is to do online versus in person. Because by
Yeah.
understanding those challenges, we can overcome them. So I'll give you the classic example. Let's say me and you are in the same room together and I'm presenting a keynote or a presentation. If I say a joke, I will know immediately whether it's funny or not. You'll either laugh at it, you'll go, oh, that's funny, or you'll be like, this guy is not funny. He should not be saying jokes. But at least I know I can gauge my audience's reaction and adapt to that. But the issue in online is I need to say the joke and assume it's funny. What does that
Right.
mean? It means that if there's 30 people on a Zoom call, I don't know if it's funny. I don't know if people are laughing. So I need to have so much confidence in myself to say, this joke is funny. Execute it the same way as you would have if it was in person, which is a lot more trickier. So now that we know the challenge, how do we overcome it? First pro trick that I have is to do pre-training Zoom calls. So what you do is you get a bunch of people you hate, people who are really harsh, put them in a Zoom call and present to them and have them point out every flaw in your presentation. Oh, Brenden, you're not
Ooh.
looking at the lens. You got to keep your eyes on the camera because if you keep doing this, you're not going to look like you're there. Or the way that you're speaking isn't right, or your slides aren't flipping, or all that stuff. So that way someone can criticize you. And what I do is I actually take this to the extreme. Even as a professional, I get feedback with my friends. I actually record my keynotes and I send them to 25 people. And then what I do is they send me not general feedback, they send me time stamped feedback. So they
Ooh.
go, oh, Brenden, go to 7 minute 13. You look really sad here, but you're talking about the future of the world and how bright it is. So there's like a disconnect there. But since there's 25 people and 25 pairs of eyes looking at it, the second version of the presentation is like night and day. So there are some easy ways that you can improve online exponentially. And one small little trick when you're in the presentation, if you happen to know someone or somebody's role in the presentation, imagine as if that person is sitting in the same room as you. So that way it feels like you're actually speaking to someone. So like you, whenever I'm on a show or on a podcast, even if I never meet the person who's interviewing me, I always assume like I've always known you. So I always speak in that way. I was like, oh yeah, Vic, we go way back, like, and that's the image that I have in my head. So
Right.
when you laugh, because we always laugh at our own jokes. We've always done that. But that takes practice. But when you get there, it comes much easier.
Those are really great tips. And I like what you said about the at this point in your presentation at 7 minutes, you looked sad when you're talking about something happy. And I think that's a really important thing to address is just your facial expression. I know for me, that's one of those things I've really had to work on is, and it's, to me, it's, I mean, it's whether it's live or online, but I think it's even more important online, because we're not able to, people aren't able to feel the energy. It's just that they don't see those little nuances, as well when it's online. So I think you almost even have to exaggerate a little bit more and be even more aware of it. And I've even noticed the other thing too is when your audience is online, there's so many more distractions for them. They might have, and then you have all these, when I'm doing these Zoom meetings and there's 25 people, and then they have little distractions going on behind them, people walking back and forth. You've got 25 boxes with all these distractions. It's hard to really keep up with exactly how people are engaging with you. And then sometimes people, you can't really tell, are they into it? Are they mad at me? uh, so like you said, you just have to assume that they are and not get so caught up, because if I don't know, and I'm the speaker, if I don't always know what I look like, and I had to remind myself of that the other day, because one of my students in my class just looked like she's bored to tears. Like she is not enjoying this at all. Everyone else is enjoying it, but this one person just did not look like, they were enjoying themselves. And so I just had to remember that, like, sometimes we just are not aware. Our face is giving off a different signal than really how we might be taking it. Maybe that's just how you look when you're really focused or really concentrating or really trying to process the information. And so
Exactly.
it's really, really, really good information there that you're giving us.
Absolutely. Thank
So
you.
yeah, so what would you suggest, what else would you suggest that we practice starting like right now or tomorrow to get better at our online public speaking presence?
Of course. And I think this advice applies in any types of situation, of course, online for the time being. The best way to practice is to create a repeatable presentation. So what this means is if you keep changing slides and changing presentations, you can't go deep into that one slide or that one topic, and you won't be able to master it.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, so if I use you as an example, because you're perfect, you're the expert on manifesting the power of the mind. So if you have a keynote on that topic, which I assume you do, so let's say I was your coach, I would really spend all the time coaching on that one keynote and just drilling that keynote until it's like a $10,000 keynote. And then after that, then you can start to make other new keynotes, but you want to focus on that. But for people who aren't like you, who don't have that repeatable thing, because I get a lot of pushback. They go, oh, Brenden, I got this 9-to-5 job. I got weird project meetings. There's no repeatable presentation there. And I go, okay, Jennifer, I'm just using a name here. But what I asked Jennifer after, and this could help a lot of people, is what do you do outside of work? So then Jennifer could say something like, oh, well, I love to run. I love to take care of my kids. I love to, I don't know, bake, or even professional wrestling, whatever Jennifer's into. It doesn't really matter. Or something more interestingly, she might be a marketing expert at a company and she coaches kids like in a leadership program. So then I go, okay, you just gave me 3 repeatable presentations. And then Jennifer's confused. She goes, what do you mean? I go, well, you can present on your passion for running, on the benefits of it and how it transformed your life, because that could impact one person to start running. 2, you can talk about your favorite recipes because you love to bake. And 3, you're a marketing expert. You're solving a marketing problem for a bunch of kids. And this is something you can repeat as new kids enter this leadership program. What this repeatable presentation does is it creates an incentive for you to keep going. Because if you're just presenting history or English like we did in high school, you don't really have an incentive to keep going because your audience is people who don't want to hear you. But on the other hand, if you're presenting on running and you're just presenting in front of 2 people, and I used to present in front of 2 people too, one of them is going to say, hey, You know what, Jennifer? I think I'm going to go for that run. Thanks for helping. And they go for the run. You go, whoa, why don't I just make this presentation better and then get 10 people to go for a run, 15, and then you're on your way.
That's a really great advice. Yeah. So just have the one presentation, focus on the one thing. And I think that so many things in life, not just public speaking, but and this goes for entrepreneurs, this goes for any kind of business person. Generally, we're just focused on in so many different directions, and so I really think it does come down to focusing on the one thing. And
Mhm.
if you focus on the one thing, you're going to get really, really good at it. And I obviously that applies to your public speaking. I think that's been my problem is, I have multiple interests in so many different categories. I love talking about, internet marketing, because that's how I've made my living pretty much for the
Interesting.
past, 20 some odd years. But my internet marketing is on a particular topic: hypnosis, law of attraction,
Right.
manifesting, all of that, but I could go on and on about running myself, or weight loss, or cats, of course, for that matter. And so I have such a variety of things that I love, that I'm passionate about. So I don't know, like, how do you think a person should go about choosing that one thing that they absolutely should be talking about?
That's an excellent question, and I think it's a good problem to have. So let's start with the good part. At least we pick, because the biggest issue I get is people don't know what, like they don't have any idea. So this is the great case to be in.
Yeah.
So the
Mine is
advice,
like, I could talk about 1,000 things, but I'm never going to get good at 1,000 things. So I've got to, narrow it down to that one thing.
right? Like like for you, you could be like, I'm gonna give a presentation on cats. What the heck, right?
From now on, that's what I'm going to rename my my YouTube channel to: Victoria's Cats. And
It's gonna be huge, huge, huge opportunity.
you know what? It just might. There are huge YouTube channels on that topic. They make a
That's
lot of
true.
money.
I think we have a new opportunity here.
There we
Well,
go.
anyways.
Anyway.
So the advice that I have doesn't just apply for presentations, it also applies for life.
Hmm.
I call it competition is clarity. So even if you don't want to be a keynote speaker, which is some people on the call, which is totally fine, the advice I have for people is to pick the thing that you believe will serve humanity in the greatest possible way. There's
Hmm.
10 things I could have done with my life. Could have became a motivational speaker, clean, just full out, follow your dreams, nothing else really. And I could have done a good job. I mean, I've been speaking for 5 years. I'm sure I could have figured something out there. I could have became a career coach because I was the youngest, one of the youngest consultants at my company. I could have became a senior executive before I was 27. Like I could have commented on that. Still a good idea, right? But the issue with those things is I would have been good at them. I might have even been great, but I wouldn't have been world class. There's other people who do that, and there's other people who do that not bad at all. But the key is relative. So I would have been a great motivational speaker. I would have become a great career coach. But public speaking was the one thing that I had in my toolbox that I was elite at because I just speak multiple languages. So I'm one of the few speakers who can comment on how to present in a second language. And I had all
Hmm.
those little tricks. In other words, I'm the youngest speech coach in the world. So that gave me a unique edge. So that's why I chose that lane, even if it's hard for me to stay in it sometimes, because that is the lane that will serve humanity in the greatest way. So, going back to your topics, out of all of the things that you can speak on, you're happy to speak on all of those for fun, just to practice with the random word exercise. But when it comes to picking the one that will be transformational for people, pick the one that you can do better than anyone else, which, in my opinion, is probably manifesting in the power of the mind.
Yep. You nailed it. That's exactly what it is. Because, and the cool thing about manifesting, and I literally just invented my tagline that's going to go on my YouTube banner. and it's, powerful something about, I don't have it memorized yet, but it's manif- powerful manifesting tools. And the thing is that I'm a hypnotist, and so it's been a little bit difficult for me to kind of figure out, like, is it about law of attraction? Is it about manifesting? Is it about hypnosis? Well, all of those, law of attraction, hypnosis is a tool. It's a powerful tool for manifesting a life and business you love. And so, powerful manifesting tools to attract a life and business you love. And so that's my tagline. And so it combines all those things. So if I wanted to kind of branch off and talk about, well, today we're going to talk about how hypnosis is going to help you to manifest a business and a life you love. So I like that it's manifesting is so broad and so all encompassing. So you really nailed it. You definitely did. Tapping into the power of your mind, all of it is right there. I love, and I think another thing that you didn't mention, but I think it kind of goes without saying, when it comes to picking something that is going to be your signature talk, your signature, keynote speech. It's got to be something that you would talk about anyway, that you love talking about, that you can't shut up about, I think, right? I mean, and I, it's got to be something that like makes you feel good, that you're just in love with it. You would do it whether you got paid for it or not.
I completely agree. There's so many keynotes that I still give to this day for free just because I love it so much.
Yeah.
Right. So I definitely agree with that. Pick something you absolutely love. And more specifically, the context of this podcast, pick something that you're willing to present to hundreds of times.
Yes, definitely. So I don't know if you get into the area of, like, so you talk about how to improve as a public speaker and now in the online world. But now, who do we talk to? Who's going
Right.
to, where do you get opportunities
Yeah, you just get a
to
bunch of
give your
cats
keynote?
and then
Yeah.
you
Right. Like if you don't have a tribe built, already, of people that are going to come and check out your YouTube channel, or that are going to come and take your manifesting online challenges and things like that. So if you don't have that audience, where do you find audiences to talk to these days?
Right. So I would say step one is you want to start building that tribe right away. Right, back
Mm-hmm.
to what you were saying. Even if it's 10 people watching or just one, you want to start building that, because over time that will pay off in spades. After that, the other thing is about leveraging other people's stages and what they have to offer. So what you want to start by asking yourself, especially if you want to be a professional in the space, is how am I solving a problem for somebody else? Why would they pick me on their podcast, on their stage, in their universe? Why would they give me the privilege to speak to somebody else's audience if I couldn't solve anything for them?
Mm.
So for you, the first step, not you, but like the audience,
Yeah.
the first step
Me.
is to figure, because you already know you, but and what you're solving. But for most people, it's figure out what you want to spend the next 10 years doing if you want to go pro. And from that morsel of thought and saying 10 years, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to teach, this is who I am, then start taking action towards that. Start making YouTube videos on the subject. Start a podcast, get on an Instagram page, start to build a small following over time. That's the long-term strategy. The short-term strategy, what you want to do is you want to ask yourself who in your local community is interested in hearing you speak on that subject. That could be a chamber of commerce, that could be a company, that could be a university, that could be an association, a professional association. And from that intertwining of both elements, you want to reach out to your network and say, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I'm passionate about. Do you think there's a fit here? And start to really understand what the market is for that type of topic. Not to say you need to get paid for anything, because you won't at the beginning, trust me. It's more about asking yourself who needs this message the most. And it could be a group of kids, like we talked about the marketing, and you build from there. So that would be my advice. And obviously, if people want more details on that, I would highly recommend this book called The Successful Speaker by Grant Baldwin. He's my
Oh,
personal coach as well. I think he's amazing, but he's also a bit pricey. So I would start with the book first, and then if you like the book, just the book alone should get you some speaking engagements.
oh, that's wonderful. And that one is called, say that again. It's
It's called
called
The Successful Speaker.
The Successful Speaker. Okay,
It's
I
like ten
like that.
bucks or something.
That no, that's great. That's great advice. I'm going to ask you one more question, and then if you have anything else you want to share, but I just want to know. One thing I've noticed about people in my industry, other entrepreneurs, like some people, I'm always surprised when some people, like half the people that I meet, they've never made an online video before, or they've never gone Facebook Live. They don't even have a YouTube channel, but they want to do it. They want to do it. So
Mm.
what do you recommend for somebody just who, like, they've just, they want to do it, but they're like, oh, it's not perfect yet, or I don't know what I'm going to talk about, or all those challenges, all those things that just come up that stop somebody from just doing it. Like, what would you say to that person?
Absolutely. And I get this a lot, so you can imagine. So let's put the tips aside for a moment. Let's talk a little bit more mindset, motivation, and some context as well. You need to all keep in mind that I started MasterTalk at 22 in my basement with a phone in the dark. I didn't even have lights. Okay, I was just a guy literally in the room across from where I'm sitting right now. That's where MasterTalk started, in my sofa that I think my parents stole from somewhere. No, I'm just kidding. But the point is,
On your
okay,
parents' stolen couch in your
right?
basement with
So
no lights.
literally, just to give just to be in with my crazy hair here. But anyways, the point is simple. I just did it, but I know that's not enough. So let's dig a bit more deeper into my psychology. If you're somebody out there who wants to start something, who wants to do something but isn't doing it, you need to ask yourself this fundamental question: who suffers from your inability to take action? Every day that you make the decision, because you're making it, to say, I don't have time for this, even if you do. I don't have resources for this, even if you don't need them. And I don't have the money for this, even if I started with $0. Every day you make the decision not to take action, who suffers, and be very specific about that person.
Mm.
So one side of the coin, like we talk about, Brenden is unqualified, Brenden is 22, Brenden shouldn't be starting this YouTube channel, why is he doing this? That's not interesting for us. What's more interesting is the other side of the coin, who suffers. Julia, she's 16 years old. She wants to make a big difference in the world. She wants to raise $100 for her favorite charity, right? So she has a classroom presentation tomorrow, but she's scared. She's like, nobody taught me how to speak. I'm nervous. I don't know if I can do this, but my animal shelter needs this. So I'm going to go on YouTube because that's what she knows, right? That's what she watches all the time. All her friends are on YouTube. She watches all these YouTube stars. So she figured she'll find some YouTube videos. So she types public speaking tips. And what does she find? She finds a bunch of old white dudes who are 65 years old who should be retired and not making videos. And I don't know, I'm just kidding. But the point is that they suck. Like, they're terrible. So Julia gets scared, right? And says, oh, this is not for me. I have to wait 40 years to be a good speaker. Closes her laptop, and the belief system that she has that she'll never be a speaker will live with her forever unless I do something about it. That's a very different game we're playing. We're not playing, oh, well, I don't know, Vic, maybe I should start this thing. Maybe. No, 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 no. Now the game is, Julia is not just one person. Julia represents every 16-year-old in the world and every 16-year-old that's ever going to live. So every day Brenden doesn't decide to make a video because he's scared of what other people think of him. millions of people suffer. And that's why I've already filmed all my YouTube videos for the year. And I've already written most of my content for 2021 because I care so much about Julia that I will do anything for her, even if she doesn't give me a penny. That's the laser focus that you need. Focus on the people that you absolutely want to help, and you will always take action.
That is beautiful. I love that story. That really brings it home. It really makes it crystal clear. Even for me, when I think every day that I put off making my video sales letter for my passive profit and prosperity program, the person who wants to build an online business the way that I've done, that person that has a message that they want to get out there, that person is suffering because I decided to procrastinate or get caught up in the weeds or tweak it a little bit more or make this word be
I'm with you.
even more perfect. All of that person that wants to get that online business started is suffering. And so it really, and so whoever is listening to this, I want you to think like, it's not even the what, it's the who or the how, but it's the who. It really kind of comes down to the who is what you're saying. Who do I serve? Who is this message intended for? And you want to put that person in your face and see, or put that person's face in your mind and see the pain that they're in, because every single person who is listening to this podcast has a powerful gift inside of them that you can bring to the surface. And really the only way that you can bring that out is to talk, is to speak. That is why we were given this mouth, is to be able to speak and to put our message out there. So thank you for clarifying that and making it really profound in what it is that person needs to do in order to get their message out there. It's so important.
Yeah. And just to put this to the extreme, because I always like being a bit of controversial. Even if you're not convinced, I'll give you one exercise to do that I guarantee you 99% of the people won't do. And if you do it, it will give you so much clarity in your life that you'll never be afraid to take action ever again. And I guarantee no other guest will say it. The exercise is write your own funeral speech.
Yeah. Wow.
Here lies
Yes.
Brenden, right? What did he do? Right? And my letter doesn't have the word should. Oh, you should have started a YouTube channel. Oh, you should have came on this podcast. No, he did that. Right? So if you can do that, if you have the guts to write that letter for yourself, I think you'll get on a camera and you'll start presenting real quick.
That's one of the 7 habits, or it's in the 7 habits of highly effective people. Stephen Covey said, begin with the end in mind. And when he's saying the end, he's saying the end of you, the end of your life. What are people going to be saying at your eulogy? And that'll help you get clear real quick on
Real
what you need to
fast.
do. Thank you very much for that. How can people find out more about you and work with you? And how do you want to leave this here today?
Of course. Yeah, I'm not famous or anything, so feel free to just send me a message on Instagram. I'm at Master Your Talk. If you just want to connect, you have a question, you want to start a conversation, and if you're someone who's interested in public speaking tips and tricks, feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Master Talk, under one name.
Okay, that sounds perfect. That I'm going to be checking it out myself, and I would hope that quite a few of our Power of Your Mind listeners will go and check out Master Talk on YouTube. And so, thank you so much for all of your wisdom today. And like I said, I think is going to go down as one of my more popular podcasts, because just knowing my audience, knowing what they need. And I think you gave a lot of really good, useful tips for people. I think it was definitely one that people go back and listen to a few times. And so thank you so much for all of your powerful insights insights on how we can become better speakers and get our message out and use the power of our mind to spread our message and our word. Thank you.
Of course, Vic, it's been a pleasure.